Be your own Motel 6 is what I say. Leave the light on for yourself. This is We Have Concerns. Hi, Jeff Cannata.
Hi, Anthony Carboni.
Hello, concerned citizens. I'm going to be honest, Jeff.
For once,
I'm going to be honest. We think we're pretty fucking clever over here at We Have Concerns. I'm not going to lie.
Hey, you know what? I'm going to agree with you. I think you are clever. I think I am clever. And I think cumulatively,
Yeah.
we are very clever.
We think we're pretty clever, Jeff, and we think we're so funny.
Where's this going?
No, but don't we, though? Don't we, Jeff? We think we're
We
so
do.
fucking funny over here.
We think we're so funny and clever that we literally record ourselves being funny and clever and send it out into the world. And then have the gall to ask people to pay for it.
Two middle-aged white guys? No.
Both with beards.
No, surely not. Surely not. These people can't think of it. Well, Jeff, I guess it's kind of important to think you're funny. It kind of is. It's kind of important to try to be funny, I think, in life.
I think so. Well, when you meet someone who is not trying at all, you realize the importance of having any kind of sense of humor.
Yeah. You know? I mean, because look, there are two things. I think there are two good things you can be as a person, funny or kind. And it's just incredibly hard to be kind. So if you can be funny.
Might as well be funny.
Yeah, try to be funny. There are two ways to really make a good impression on somebody, and I cannot be kind.
And you know what's the real irony is that cruelty is hilarious.
That's the thing. It's the funny to kind continuum, really.
Sure.
And it's been talked about quite a bit in science. You can be funny or you can be kind, and it's the spectrum. It's a spectrum.
Two edges of a gradient, really, is what that is.
Yeah. I know. I think being funny or trying to be funny or trying to have a good sense of humor is actually really great for mental health. It's kind of a good indicator in a lot of ways to a lot of studies of intelligence.
Yeah. Right.
You know, but Jeff, it turns out that your specific type of humor, what type of funny you are, can also be pretty important.
Okay. What are the types of funny?
I mean,
like
there's so
insult
many.
Comic.
Well, there are a lot of types of funny, Jeff. One is
pratfalls.
Yeah, like a giant anvil hitting somebody is one kind of funny.
Yeah.
A lapel flower that squirts water is one kind of funny.
Yeah. We're hitting the big hitters right now.
Giving a wedgie to a nerd is one kind of funny.
Again, cruelty is hilarious.
Yeah, it's the best kind. Well, it turns out in Europe's Journal of Psychology, connections have been found.
The funniest of the scientific periodicals.
Oh, please. Europe's Journal of Psychology, turn to the comic strip in the back first.
Always. Oh, you'll get at least a chuckle, sometimes a guffaw.
Mm-hmm. I would say the comics in Europe's Journal of Psychology, at least as good as a Marmaduke, not quite as good as a Family Circus where Billy is trying to find his way home from somewhere, and it's a dotted line, and you see all the trouble he's gotten into.
Look at all the stops he's made.
Yeah. And I mean, like, look, I can't name a scientific journal that's as funny as a Garfield, but they're scientific journals, Jeff.
Yeah. They're trying.
You know what I mean? It's not about that.
Sure.
It's not about that. Yeah, there are different types of funny. So, and those different types of humor are connected to your mental health.
Okay.
So the study indicates that things like, let's talk about benevolent humor.
Benevolent humor.
Humor.
Okay.
This is
I like that.
kind-hearted jokes and good-natured teasing. So even benevolent humor.
It's got a hint of insult in there.
Yeah, it's got, listen, if there's one thing we know, if there's one thing that all of the most popular comics on Netflix have taught us, it's that you got to punch down.
Sure. That's the best part.
You got to make fun of people who have it worse than you. And you got to make fun of people who have no power in society.
That's called benevolent humor.
Speak truth to the weak is what they say.
That's right. That's right.
So kind-hearted jokes, good-natured teasing is linked to lower levels of depression, anxiety, and stress.
Yes, I know from my own experience as a junior high nerd that nothing made me feel better about myself than all that good-natured teasing I was getting.
Yeah, just a little good-natured teasing every day.
Just constant, nonstop, good-natured teasing.
By all of your peers, consistently, in a way that's about your personality and your appearance.
Yes.
It's good.
So much fun. It made me feel great about myself and the fact that I was already wearing glasses and that I also was into Dungeons and Dragons. It felt good.
Yeah. Yeah. Hard concur. So, but I think like good-natured teasing is, there's a very specific type of teasing that is good-natured teasing. I mean, it's got to be between friends, people with trust, and it's got to be about something benign. It's not like about something that would really hurt you or really make you feel badly. It's like
right.
It's got to be about something that like honestly has very little to do with you and more to do with a situation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Goofing on a buddy for like, I don't know, having something stuck to their shoe is totally fine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Or goofing on a friend that you've known for years about a way they are behaving that diffuses the way they are behaving is also good-natured teasing, right?
Yeah.
Like if somebody, one of the things that, I have, I have a lot of anxiety, depression, ADHD, all of these things. And, I've had partners that are able to get me out of a funk or help me kind of get back on task or whatever by just a little like good-natured teasing. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Sometimes that's...
Oh, who's Mr. Grumpy Pants this morning?
Yeah, exactly. That sort of thing. And when it comes from somebody that you trust, like that's okay. You know?
Right.
Now, that kind of humor, that kind of good humor, like the ice cream, like the man, the good humor man. That's a relevant.
Kids ask your grandparents.
That's right. That's right. So humor, they've said, like it manifests positive effects. It's an emotional regulator. It's a coping mechanism. It's a distraction technique at times that you need.
Yeah.
And that kind of stuff helps with the attenuation of negative emotions. It helps, kind of get rid of negative emotions. It increases positive emotions. You have to really you have to have some humor sometimes to get.
I think this is that old adage of being able to laugh at yourself.
Yes.
Right? Not taking yourself so seriously that you can't laugh. Oh, I did get something on my shoe. Oh, I was being a grumpy pants this morning. Ha ha. You're right.
You're
my
right.
gosh. Holding a mirror up to myself and being able to chuckle and go, yes, my behavior was a little ridiculous. I think that is extremely healthy. And you're right. It does track to me that it would help with feeling bad about yourself because you can get in this rut of, oh, woe is me. And then somebody holds a mirror up to you and you go, that's right. I'm being silly about this. I'm not being circumspect about everything that's actually going on. I'm kind of stuck in this one particular mode.
Yeah. And I think that's why, we've loved comedy and big popular comedians too, is because you can do these things on a societal level as well.
Yeah.
And we've seen that. But it's really, really important in this, in this personal level. Now here's the thing, Jeff, there's some humor. There's some other humor that actually, is, let's call it anti-humor. No, let's not call it anti-humor because it is still humor. But it is kinds of humor that actually can be markers of the opposite of bad things happening. Certain kinds of humor can actually be hurtful or can show you certain things about a person's inner mental state. So basically what they have here is they have a study. This was 686 participants, 187 men, 499 women. Ages ranged anywhere between.
Couldn't get one more woman? 499 is what we're sticking with? Couldn't get one more?
Well, remember that they have 686, which is a good round number overall.
Okay. All right.
You know, that's the science number.
It's a little. I'm guessing there was a woman that didn't show. I feel like you don't just sign up 499. You know what I'm saying?
Well, do you sign up 187? It sounds like
No.
way fewer men showed up that day.
Yes. Well, that tracks too.
Yeah, it actually says, yeah. No, I'll be there, bro. No, bro, 9 a.m.? Yeah, I'll be there, bro.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
No, dude,
How
I'm
much
there
are we
for
getting?
you. No, bro.
Nothing? We're getting nothing for this? Okay, yeah, I'm definitely there.
No, dude, absolutely. I'm your bro, and I'm going to be there for you. The study started at 10:30, Jim. 10:30. It's not even early, Jim.
It's not even hard to get there.
Yeah.
Come on, Jim.
I looked out the window and it looked. So. It looked what? Yeah. Yes. What? Yeah. I'm sorry, bro. I'll get you next time. I'll get you next time you do a longitudinal study. What? So anywhere between 20 and 76 years old. So huge age range here.
Yeah. I kind of think I know what happened to the 500th woman now.
Go on.
Anyway, so they got a bunch of people together and they started all telling them knock-knock jokes.
Yeah,
right?
they had them all do a tight five.
Tight five.
They had each of them go up and do a tight five. They were like, give us a quick set. Let's see how your material is, kid. Let's see if your comedy store material, they said.
This was the study entitled, Who Are These People?
But it was actually called Emporium della Commedia because it was an Italian study.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
So, diverse cross-section in terms of educational background and marital status, all this stuff. And what they did was they employed two specific measures. First is something that they called comic style markers. A questionnaire where participants rated 48 statements to express their typical humor style on a scale from 1 to 7. Now, these comic styles, I think, are interesting. I fucking love seeing science trying to research humor.
Yes. Or art. You know, like science like, okay, we need to have a quantitative representation of what funny is.
Because there's no other way to research it, right?
Right.
There's no other way to research it and write your findings. You need to find qualitative and quantitative markers, and you need to be able to track them. And it's so fucking weird.
How many funnies is this?
Yeah.
How many?
And it's like, it is so wild to see them do it. Okay, so they have these 8 comic styles that they picked. It's one of them is fun, which is lightheartedness and joy.
All right.
One of them is just called humor. So they're defining a word with a word.
What kind of comedic style do you employ? Mostly humor.
Mostly humor. Ooh, that's a good comedic style. That might be my favorite one. You're hired, kid. Welcome to Emporium della Commedia.
I wish they had named these styles after people. I wish they would have been like, okay, there's 8 styles. One of them is Kevin James.
Yeah, Kevin James.
The other, yeah.
So humor is gently...
David Spade.
One of them is humor, which gently focuses on gently poking fun at life's quirks. Nonsense, which is absurdity and illogical humor.
Oh, my favorite.
Wit is it's a lot of... All the Gen Zs love that one. The younger people in the study are just like, oh, shit. That
style is my favorite moose.
Yeah, it's rizzed up.
It's rizzed up.
That kind of humor is goated with the sauce, is what they say. Wit is marked by intellectual sharpness and cleverness.
Mm-hmm.
Irony, where what is said is opposite to what is meant, right?
Yeah, I love that one.
Okay. All right, that's really more sarcasm, which is also on the list.
Those are different?
They're different because sarcasm has a more biting and direct form of verbal irony. Irony can just be pointing out the irony, but sarcasm has an intent.
It's like rain on your wedding day.
Right, it's a free ride when you've already paid.
Yes.
Satire, which is social critique through ridicule, and cynicism, which embodies skepticism and a mocking attitude towards societal norms, right? So these are the qualitative comic style markers that science has created.
Okay.
And then the second...
Still not a fan of humor being one of them. That's just that doesn't help me in any way to understand.
No, humor, like I would have called it just joshing.
just joshing around.
Maybe they don't
just
have
jokey jokes.
Maybe they don't have joshing in Italy. Maybe it's Giacomoing. And that's too long to say.
Yeah, fair point.
The second tool that they used was depression, anxiety, stress scales. This is a self-reporting questionnaire that's designed to measure the levels of depression, anxiety, and stress. If you've ever done like if you've ever done a diagnostic panel on mental health, if your doctor's ever given you one of those questionnaires, or if you're somebody who's on medication and you fill it out, you've probably done the depression, anxiety, stress scales.
Like how bummed out are you? Well, I had to be here at 10:30 and one of the women died.
Jim.
So, it's not a great day.
Jim, 10:30 is not early. You live 10 minutes from the place.
You asked me how bummed out I am, and I'm giving you my honest answer.
All right. And also she didn't die, Jim.
Oh.
She just was sick today, and she actually called the day before and let us know and apologized.
Did she have to be here at 10:30?
Yes.
I don't know how they do it. I don't know how all 499 of them did it.
Yeah, you got that right, bro. All the other dudes in the back. It's 10:30 is so early, bro. So basically what they did was they had these people rate how funny each of these things in these different categories were. And then they had these people kind of fill out these questionnaires about their mental state. And they looked at how all of these people in these different self-reported mental states sort of differently analyzed and ranked these jokes and their styles of humor.
Where did they get the jokes from?
That's a great question. That's an absolutely great question. And I genuinely think it was just like they just pulled jokes from like stand-up routines, movies.
That's amazing.
Classic old jokes.
They
stuff
just
like
played the second Shrek movie.
Yeah, over and over. And I'm actually doing a study on basically why the Smash Mouth song took hold of society from Shrek, the All-Star, and not
Hey Now.
Yeah, and not the Counting Crows song Accidentally in Love, which I think is a much better song.
Better song, but it doesn't start out with "Hey Now."
Yeah,
which is like everybody loves saying that.
Rest in peace, Smash Mouth.
Yeah.
Rest in peace. And always remember that vaccines are real. Now, when they looked at all of these different kinds of humor, they were like, can we tell by somebody's humor, the humor they use, the humor they like, the humor they are more drawn to, can we tell things about their personality?
Right.
And what they found is that when they looked at all of this, they found that benign humor, you're just joshing. Mm-hmm. We would call that just humor.
Sure. Of course we would. In the comedy study, we call it humor. Things
like what they would call humor, fun, nonsense, all of that stuff serves as a protective factor for basically all variables like anxiety, stress, depression. right?
Okay.
They found that works. Now,
makes sense.
What's interesting is if you had to guess what kinds of humor were connected to which sort of negative emotions or personality factors, right? Mm-hmm. You've got depression, anxiety, and stress. If you had to guess any styles of humor that show that the person is going through that or is prone to those, what would you think?
I mean, cynicism seems to me like the obvious answer, right? Because it represents a worldview that is sort of beleaguered, right? You feel like, oh, the world is awful, and the only way I can get through it is by laughing at how awful everything is. The cynicism comes from a perception that I have to point out how untrustworthy the world is.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I would have thought that too. I would have thought like cynicism is definitely going to be the mind killer here. Cynicism is going to be the one that's just absolutely negative and horrible. But it turns out cynicism had no strong correlation or connection to anything.
I'm shocked, genuinely.
I am too. But it sounded like you were being sarcastic, which is a more direct form of irony.
Yeah, I was just joshing.
You were just Giacomoing?
Yeah. So what is the one? Is it sarcasm or irony that are attached to depression, anxiety, stress?
Yeah. So basically, the biggest one for anxiety and stress is irony. Irony shows anxiety and stress. And when you think about it, it's like, oh, well, it would just be that way, wouldn't it? You know what I mean? Like the idea of irony is just like, well, isn't that, oh, of course it's like that. Why wouldn't it be?
Yeah. Yeah. Of course I can't get married on this day because there's rain.
Yeah. I already paid for this free ride.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who would have thought? It figures. So irony shows positive association with anxiety and stress. Now,
you know what? I feel like if I had spent another minute thinking about it, I probably could have gotten to that because the irony one feels like a kind of a defeatist, where cynicism is like, I'm still riding this wave. You know what I mean? I'm cynical about it, but I'm sort of in control of it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Whereas irony is just like, nothing you can do. Might as well be depressed.
Yes. Yeah, irony is the Eeyore of humor.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it's like, well, I guess it's my birthday, but nobody cares about that. You know?
Right.
Whereas like cynicism is much more.
Aren't we all smarter than this? Aren't we all, we can make fun of it and it's all broken, but we're smarter. We understand. Cynicism is George Carlin to a certain extent.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's 100% it. It's that's sort of like I'm still talking about this, and I'm talking about this in a way that shows like I see what you're doing. I see the inner machinery of it all.
I'm not going to be dragged down by it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I recognize it and I know how to stay above it.
Yes.
Cynicism has sort of a level of a bit of a level of superiority in some way.
Yeah.
Whereas
irony is I'm underneath it. It's drowning me. Yeah.
Like rain, like too much rain.
On your wedding day.
On your wedding day, which is the worst time to drown. And that's science too. There've been a lot of studies about that.
If you had to rank times to drown.
Okay, ranking times to drown. All right, here we go. The worst possible times to drown.
Yeah.
On your way to redeem your winning lottery ticket.
Oh, terrible time to drown.
Terrible time to drown.
Yeah.
I would say definitely wedding day, yay.
Sure. Yeah. How about the birthday party at the water park that you've been dreaming about your whole life?
That is a bad time to drown, but also a more expected time.
Sure.
So it's not, it's awful for sure, but you were surrounded by all that water.
Yeah.
There's nothing.
How about you're a farmer?
Yeah, go on.
And you've been living through 6 years of drought.
Yes.
And your crops are about to come back.
Mm-hmm. That's great.
And you decided to take a dip in the pool.
Yeah, that's a bad one.
I don't know.
Now you have a pool?
Well, it's
a
very
drought,
wasteful
but you have
for you.
A pool?
I know you shouldn't have been having that pool during the 6 years of drought. That's maybe why it's ironic.
I mean, it's at least Morissetian ironic. It's the Morissetian definition of ironic, which is an important definition. I think we can say it's and I would also say while having breakfast in bed, terrible time to drown.
Terrible time to drown. Terrible time
to drown. It's there you go. You have your croissant or whatever, and
you shouldn't have had breakfast soup. That's your problem.
Do you think there's a good breakfast soup?
Hey, I think we just stumbled on a real business opportunity here.
What kind of soup would you want for breakfast?
Egg drop soup?
No, egg drop soup? I mean, I understand where you're coming from because egg is a fundamental cornerstone of breakfast.
Yeah, exactly.
But there's something about the way egg is made in egg drop soup that makes it feel not breakfast to me. Maybe
that's why there's no breakfast soup?
Yeah, because with egg drop soup, you have to deal with the snottiness of the egg.
Can I tell you something?
What?
You know what I think breakfast soup is?
What?
Cereal.
Oh, this is like an internet. This is a Twitter thing. I can't do this. This is one of those things where it's like, hey, Twitter, is cereal a soup? And then you log off and you're farming engagement. Yeah. Hey, is a hot dog a sandwich, Twitter? I gotta go. But I think you're right. I think it might be the closest thing that we have.
Yeah.
To a breakfast soup. If we could figure out the ultimate breakfast soup. Man. Listen, there are countries with breakfast soup. We're just not one of them. Oh yeah. Like a fish soup for breakfast is like a big deal in Asia and like a lot of places.
Sounds disgusting.
Yeah, okay. That's the thing. Like, I don't even want look, I'll do fish in the morning, depending on the fish. Like, what is it?
Yeah, lox.
Oh, a lox on a bagel, please.
Yeah, sure, give it to me.
Please, I'll absolutely have that. A salmon and eggs.
Yeah. Oh, like a salmon Benedict? Give it to me. Come on.
But a soup. Because here's the thing is, Jeff, I always want soup, but I never want to make soup.
Yeah, I agree.
Soup, for some reason, is my least favorite thing to make.
Well, it takes forever. Unless, you can get canned soups that are not, not hard to make. But like a real, good, full-on made from scratch soup is incredible. But I never have it.
I've got the pressure cooker. I've got the whole thing. I should just put some stuff in a pressure cooker and make some soup. I never do.
Yeah.
I never do.
Neither do I.
I've lost the knowledge of the old country. Within 2 generations, it's gone, Jeff.
Sure.
2 generations. My grandmother would just she knew how to make everything, and then on the day that it was just left over enough, or there was just enough leavings, it was all of a sudden it's like, well, that's a soup now, and she could take anything and make it into an amazing soup.
You don't waste any part of it.
No.
You can make that you put that into a pot, all the stuff that you didn't finish. But now it's a soup.
Yeah, Carl Weathers, you got a stew, baby.
That's right.
That's right. But I don't. That knowledge is lost to me.
Your ancestors are weeping.
I know.
But one of my favorite things about working at a restaurant, when I had a brief stint as a waiter and vowed I'd never do it again.
First of all, congrats.
Thank you. One of my favorite things about that, my only favorite thing about it, I'll be honest, was that they had the place I worked. They had 2 freshly made soups every day. And oh man, they rotated the types, and it was a delight because I always got a free little cup of soup at my break time.
Yeah,
oh, the best.
I love a soup. I gotta figure out I gotta figure out more soup in my life.
What's your favorite soup?
Oh, dude, so tough. So tough. I'm a big fan of a chicken noodle with matzo balls. Obviously.
Can't go wrong.
That's a huge one.
I love clam chowder.
I went through a huge clam chowder phase when I was a youth. In my youth, I was just like clam chowder every day.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was. Now I can't imagine having clam chowder very often.
Really?
Yeah.
It's very bad for you, but it's delicious.
It's just also, I think as I've gotten older, texturally, something about the clam has changed for me. But I do love a bisque.
Oh, I love a bisque. Like a lobster bisque. Ooh, doggies.
Please. Anyway, this is about the humor study.
Right, sure. We're back.
But also, this is also about soups. Hey, leave your favorite soup in a comment.
We'd love to know.
You know how you leave a comment
soup.
on a podcast? You just scream it.
Yeah.
Just scream out
in your car as you're listening. Just yell at us. We'll hear it.
Pull up alongside whoever you're driving next to and make the roll down your window sound, and then scream a soup in their face. And then fucking drive away. Just be like, mulligatawny, bitch, and then just like drive away.
If we have that effect on the world,
yeah,
I feel like we really made it, you know?
Yeah.
If just people are yelling soups at each other in the car.
Yell soup, everybody. So the other correlations. So irony is anxiety and stress.
Yeah.
Here's something that I thought was really interesting. Wittiness has been seen to be a protective factor against anxiety. People who are anxious use wit as a defense mechanism.
Interesting. I'm nervous about everything, but I'll make a real bon mot.
Yeah. I'll Oscar Wilde my way out of this.
Yeah. You know what? I would believe that Oscar Wilde had crippling anxiety.
Oh,
I believe
definitely. That. Oscar, listen, nobody had more fucking just issues with anxiety and just low confidence level probably than Oscar Wilde.
Oh, you know who's the poster child for this? I know it's not kosher to bring this person up anymore, but Woody Allen, right? Woody Allen, anxiety and wit, right?
Yes.
That's the platonic ideal right there of anxiety and wit combo.
There's a whole thing about my people, the God's chosen, that says that we're funny because we're nervous all the time.
Right.
And for a long time, Woody Allen was the poster child for that. Just anything quick-witted is just like you're goofing to diffuse it.
Right. Yes.
Because you're nervous and you want to show that, like, I mean, honestly, a lot of times the wittiness is self-deprecating. Wittiness can be, unlike sarcasm, or irony, wittiness calls out not just the thing, but your actual true feelings about it.
Yes. Right.
So you're not afraid to say you're afraid if it's wrapped in a joke.
Yes. Well said. I agree.
You know, you can express nervousness, anxiety, fears of failure, things like that are easier to put out in humor, I think.
Yeah. I would never be part of a club that would have me as a member.
That was technically Groucho Marx.
Well, he's quoting it at the beginning of Annie Hall.
Right. He's quoting it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know that that's, I don't know that that's you. I mean, we can pick that one for Woody Allen. Sure.
I mean, it's the beginning of his.
Also, I want to hear your Woody Allen impression one more time.
I don't know what to say. I'm trying to do it.
That sounds like a young John Travolta.
It's like it's so weird. It's like some kind of dream. That's my Travolta. Actually, that's me doing Dana Carvey doing Travolta.
I think every generation, when they do impressions, is just doing an impressionist whoever the biggest impressionist was of their generation.
Right. Yeah. Half the things that I do is just aping Dana Carvey.
Yeah. Before Dana Carvey, everybody did like Rich Little was the big one.
Yeah.
So everybody, something I discussed with a friend is she was like, one of the most annoying things about dudes is every dude has an Arnold Schwarzenegger impression. and they love to do it.
Sure, why wouldn't you?
Like every dude loves to do a Schwarzenegger, and she's like, and the worst thing is every dude is just doing Conan O'Brien's Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Again, I think I'm doing Hans and Franz when I do Schwarzenegger.
Sure.
You know, I was in a very particular generation where Dana Carvey was my everything for a few years.
Yeah, of course. But I think the reason the Conan O'Brien Schwarzenegger is the one that most people do is because he does nonsense words in the middle of it, and it's just so funny to do.
Right.
Like he doesn't do real sentences. He's just like,
right. Decent that and all of these things.
Yeah. Anyway, we're just two more dudes with bad Schwarzenegger impressions. Now,
I think. Do you think that every dude has a Schwarzenegger and every dude has a Walken?
Yes, Walken's really.
Everybody's
important.
got a Walken, right?
Walken's really important.
But again, you're probably doing Jay Moore's Walken, or you're doing, it's like you're not doing actual Walken.
One of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life. When I was living in New York, I went to, I want to say it was at the UCB. It was at one of the comedy theaters, and it was like 20 comedians doing a fake life story of Christopher Walken, and they were all playing Christopher Walken at different times in his life.
Well, did you ever see that? There's a Saturday Night Live sketch called The Walkens when Christopher Walken was a host. And like everybody in the cast was a different Walken family member, and like Amy Poehler comes on as like this little like 6-year-old girl, and she does a terrible walk. It's very funny, but it's like they're all doing
Oh man, that's good. See, and that like that clicks too. There's something that shows a lot of confidence and self-awareness, but a comfortableness with who you are to let people do that, right?
Yeah. Totally.
Like when we're talking about styles of humor, there's, you're talking about the Woody Allen of the self-deprecating. Sometimes self-deprecating is defensive. Like I can make fun of myself, but you can't make fun of me.
Right.
Like I'll say it, but you can't. And that's where I think like that wit is tied to anxiety. But then when you talk about somebody like Christopher Walken allowing people to do, or Jeff Goldblum, who loves when people do a Jeff Goldblum. There's something connected to that I would say is I don't know. I guess it's what the Italians just call humor. Out of all the humor kinds, out of all the kinds of funny, this is the one the Italians call humor, which is like, or just the one that's called fun, right? Which is just like focusing on gently poking fun and lightheartedness and joy, right? It also has like a little bit of the nonsense in it, like everybody's doing a me to me, and that's that's a little bit of the absurdity of it. And somebody who's comfortable with that, I think, shows like a very comfortable mental state, right? I think about earlier in life, and I had no ability to allow people to make fun of me, even in like a gentle way, and when I think about that, I definitely associate that with one of the more low times of mental health in my life, like a lot of anxiety, a lot of anger, a lot of these things, and it was just like people couldn't even say like the silliest little thing to me without me being defensive about it.
Yeah.
Well,
I think that really speaks to exactly what the study is speaking to, which is the ability to laugh at oneself is a clear indicator of sort of, being well-adjusted in a certain way.
And above and beyond just like the comedian or the famous person of it all, I think it's weird, and tell me if this makes sense to you. Growing up, there was always a particular type of dad. I particularly associate this with dads or grandfathers, where there's a certain period, there's a certain type where the kids can make fun of him all the time. And not just his kids, but like neighborhood kids. You can just like goof on him and he goes, well, I guess that's true. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, I guess I do that. That's funny. Yeah. I guess I do that. That's wild. Oh, yeah.
Right.
That's right. And she's just a smile and like a giggle about it, and then just like moves on. And I was always like, that's a cool dad. I always thought of that as like the cool dad.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like it's a particular kind of like easiness and comfortability in yourself.
Yes. That's what it is. Yes.
You know, and just like, that is, I guess that is me. Huh.
Yeah. You don't feel attacked, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, and with kids, it's usually like making fun of what the dad's wearing or the way the dad talks or something like that. And the dad's just like, that's what I wear and that's how I talk.
Whereas I, with my kids' friends, am utterly humorless and actively aggressive.
Yeah, no, shut them down. You want to show authority and dominance over children.
They'll be like, hey, Mr. Kanata, look, this is like what you would wear, this coat. And I say, get out of my house. Get out of my house.
Listen
right
up,
now.
you little fucking whelp. You think you can talk to me that way? You're up to my waist. I could kick you into the sea.
I would never wear that. But it's your coat. I just found it in the
corner. Shut up, fool. Say back to me what I said to you. You would never
wear this.
That's right. Now smell this flower on my lapel. I am the funny dad. I am the comfortable dad.
All right. Knock.
That's like from Breaking Bad. I am the one who knocks.
I am the one who knocks.
Yeah. Now, one thing that they found that I think is very interesting: sarcasm, Jeff.
Sure.
That pointed form of irony.
Mm-hmm.
Highly positively related to depression.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, I believe it. I believe it. It's the Chandler Bing, right? Mm-hmm. It's you're so sarcastic and then you go into the corner and weep yourself to sleep, you know? I get it. I believe it.
When I think of sarcasm, I think of like the late 90s, early 2000s. I think of a particularly like slightly older than me, like friends, older brothers, older sisters, things like that. I guess it would be like a Gen X, like a firmly planted in Gen X style of humor.
Yeah.
When everything was sarcastic. Everything on even children's shows were sarcastic.
Right.
When I look back on some of the children's shows that I watched, they were marked by a decidedly sarcastic humor, like an kind of humor. And when you look into that style of humor with Gen X, it's particularly correlated to a generation that was the first American generation that was told specifically, you are not going to do as well as your parents. There is no way you ever will. Those times are over. Yeah. It was also marked by a huge uptick in the availability of media and media outlets and a new knowledge of what was going on in the world, in government, behind the scenes. And so when I think about this sarcastic, we called it ironic, but it really is sarcastic. This sarcastic sense of humor, I do think it is associated with a generational depression.
Yeah, a disillusionment, really, of societal norms, right? You're disillusioned by what you've been told, and so everything is undercut. Everything is biting. Everything is, right, sure, of course you're doing that.
Okay,
the
government.
Assumption, the assumption I'm being lied to all the time. I think that totally tracks as being a form of depression, a form of, man, everything sucks. Everything sucks is really that. I mean, that's a little cynicism too, I guess. I'm kind of dipping into cynicism, but
yeah, but I think they do. I think they kind of, they kind of connect in that way sometimes.
Yeah, right.
But then I think about absurdity, and I think about Gen Z's sense of humor, like internet humor now, where it's like, the Grimace shake will kill you and make you vomit everywhere. Or, all of these things that make there's that meme that goes around where it's like, this is a Gen Z joke. And it's just like a blurry picture of a guy and it says Dave.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, what is that? And it's like, well, that's funny because that's Dave, dude. And it's like, that's hilarious. It's Dave. And there's this thing about absurdism that I think is, it goes back to like the actual philosophical idea of absurdism, where it's like, I'm just gonna laugh at it. It's the reverse of cynicism, or the reverse of irony, where it's like, I do feel like I'm caught under the wheels of the machine, and I do feel like maybe there's no way out of the machine. And because there's no way out of the machine, fuck it, baby. We're having fun in the machine.
Let's laugh all the way down.
Yeah.
Let's ride the bomb and say yee-haw the whole way down.
Because I think you're right that there's a disillusionment that comes along with Gen X, where I think that early childhood and growing up, Gen X had the idea that everything was going to be prosperous and good. They didn't have any reason not to believe it. It's sort of like elder millennials. We lived in like a pretty decent time before 9/11.
Right.
And then 9/11 sort of turned everything weird. And so we sort of have a connection to Gen X where it's like, oh no, in my childhood, I definitely, and up through my teenage years, I definitely thought everything was going to be cool. I was like, yeah, the world's much better now. Where Gen Z does not believe that at all. Gen Z is like, I was born into the pit, and I will live in the pit, and the pit is my home.
Yeah. It's also a generation of kids raised on Tim and Eric.
Yeah. Which, goddamn, bless Tim and Eric for raising our children,
right?
To be this way.
I mean, the absurdity, I think, is in the DNA.
Are you ready? A friend of mine, who's a bit younger, was in 2 Tim and Eric things.
Oh yeah.
Playing a child. Was like one of those 10-year-old children in a Tim and Eric thing.
Wow.
Yeah. It's like 30 now.
Yeah. Like, I think there was an element of like SpongeBob kind of had that absurdity backbone too, that spine of nonsense. And I think that generation kind of, it shaped them, that way of looking at the world. And you're right, that disillusionment, that being born into a topsy-turvy world. It's interesting to me. The generational humor is very interesting to me.
Same. I think it's fascinating. And I've always been a fan of just nonsense humor. I've always loved it. I think it's wild. I mean, and it's always been around. Like we talk about all the things that were popular with Gen Z, but you want to talk about like nonsense humor. Obviously there was Monty Python, and then after Monty Python, there was Steve Martin. There's always been like, there's always been like an absurdist humorist who is popular, but it's definitely most humor now.
I agree.
For you.
Yeah, well, it's TikTok, right? All of TikTok is in that mode. I just watched the really great documentary about Albert Brooks.
Yes,
and it shows a lot of his early stand-up that he was doing.
The funniest,
dude, bonkers, absurd, bonkers.
The funniest person.
Oh my God, it's amazing. I was a huge fan of his movies, but I didn't really know his early stand-up career.
Oh yeah.
And it's so funny. They show this bit that he was on Johnny Carson like 40 times or something crazy. And they show this bit that he did about he's coming out being introduced as a elephant tamer, but the elephant got sick. So he doesn't have the elephant, but he still wants to, he has a big shot on Johnny Carson. Yeah. He still wants to do his gig. So he's got this frog and he's going to do all of the elephant bits with the frog.
Yeah.
And so like the elephant's going to stand on his head, but he puts the frog on his head. It's just bonkers, but it's so funny.
That stuff reminds me of like a guy who does that kind of stuff right now is Mark Proksch, who's, who plays Colin on What We Do in the Shadows. The energy vampire. Yeah. But he's like one of like the Tim and Eric crew. Like he and Tim Heidecker do a lot of stuff together, but he got famous because he used to lie to local news stations around the country.
And tell them there's a documentary about that.
Yeah, and tell them that he was a particular kind of expert at something, and then show up and either lie or do it wrong or bad. And
I think one of yo-yo. He would go on and do yo-yo.
One of the most famous ones he did is he showed up and he was like a famous yo-yo guy. They were like, he's going to show up and he's going to do like a ton of yo-yo tricks. He's like the world record holder for yo-yo, and he shows up in an arm cast. And he's like, I can't do it. He's like, but I can explain to you how I normally do it. And I'm just like, this is so good.
There's a documentary about him, and he started with these two dudes who have this famous VHS collection. They do a tour with the VHS collection, but they started selling themselves to local TV news stations as a strongman duo, and they would go on and try to do strongman feats, but they're both like, regular, normal, not muscular in any way dudes. And they would do things like break baskets, like wicker baskets that anyone can break. It's so funny. Man. And yeah, they were getting no money out of it. They just go on and do it. And they just thought it was hilarious.
Yeah. Cause you could just fool a local news station.
Yes.
I love stuff like that. And that to me falls into the, definitely falls into the absurdist and the nonsense, and it's different than a sarcasm or a cynicism, because even though you're making fun of the system, even though you're making fun of the fact that anybody can get on the news, and the news is just television, it's just entertainment, and nobody checks anything, and it's fucking weird. You're making fun of that, but you've got that thing where you're also making fun of yourself,
right? You are the boob, right? You are the butt of the joke. Is how bad those same two guys, they got themselves booked on America's Got Talent, and they went out on stage and they literally just peed their pants as they were doing their show. So clearly, like, they're the butt of the joke, right? But
but it's making fun of a larger construct by doing it.
Yes, exactly.
I love that stuff, man. I love it. So, when you talk about all these different things, it's interesting to start seeing that as much as we're goofing on, there are 8 different kinds of humor, and you can't qualify it or quantify it. It is interesting to take these archetypes and dissect then what's going on, right? When you see different things that are funny. And it is interesting to think that, like, other than irony, or other than the sarcasm being related to depression and irony being related to anxiety and stress, wit being linked to anxiety, there were no other significant correlations.
Interesting.
All these other 8 types of humor, really only 4 of them show any connection to any of this stuff. And really, the strongest one is the relation between sarcasm and depression. But otherwise, it's, baby, funny's just funny.
Funny's just funny.
Funny's just funny, baby. Now, there are some things that they want to toss out here. Number 1, this is in Italy. So
sure, all bets are off.
All bets are off. You know what I mean? You know what they say about Italian humor? All bets are off. Well, I mean, what it means is culturally different places in the world can have different kinds of humor that they enjoy. Of
course, yeah.
And different popular kinds of humor and different ways of expressing it. So they would need to validate these results across cultures and nationality. Also,
I don't know, if I think hilarious, I immediately think Italy.
Oh, think about all the funny people that came out of Italy. There's
What's the?
Wasn't Roberto Bernini?
Roberto Benigni. That's what I was thinking too.
Roberto Bernini. Didn't we give? But
lovable scamp.
But we did give him an Oscar for the movie that he wasn't funny in.
Sure. But his acceptance speech was very funny.
Was it?
Remember, he got up on the seats and he walked across the seats to get his Oscar. Everybody thought he was a lovable scamp.
Were there people sitting in those seats? That's fucked up, Roberto Bernini. There's a fucking aisle right there.
Yeah, but he's Italy's funniest man.
All right, Roberto. All right. He was just Giacomoing.
What about Dom DeLuise?
No, that's America. He's American.
Ah, dang it.
He's American. Also, they want to say that self-reporting data is obviously a limitation, right? Anytime that you have to collect data through self-reporting, you are going through not the person's real reaction, but their real reaction, and then their filtering thoughts and reaction to their own reaction.
Right. Sure.
So they say that they need to broaden this study to get multi-method data and get perspectives beyond self-perspectives. So, all
right.
And they also say that, like, listen, these causal implications could be bidirectional. They could be unidirectional. They don't know yet. Does being cynical make you more depressed, or does being sarcastic make you more depressed, or does being depressed make you more sarcastic?
Right. Or both.
Or both. So they don't know that yet either. All they know yet are the correlations. Honestly, not the funniest punchline to this study.
They got to work on that.
Yeah, honestly, like I would say this study needs needs a little bit of punch up.
Yeah. Let's get Roberto Benigni on this.
I'd bring in Bruce Valanche.
We need a full Valanche of this project.
Kids, ask your parents about Bruce Valanche.
Noted Academy Award writer.
That's right.
Speech writer. Yeah.
That's right. He'd punch it up, baby.
He would punch it up.
Listen, as somebody who's been going through a lot of therapy and over the last few years, and definitely knows how he uses humor in his life, this study was interesting, not all that surprising, but cool to see it studied.
It kind of aligns with our intuitions about it. I think a biggest takeaway from this is we have to amend the statement, laughter is the best medicine. Right. Laughter is the best medicine unless you're using these kinds of humors, is because sometimes these humors can make it worse.
Yeah, we just need to put some warnings on the label. That's all.
There you go. Yeah.
We got to put some warnings on the old joke label.
Laughter is the best medicine. Asterisk may not be the best medicine for you.
That's right. That's right. We'll put that on every whoopee cushion. Hey, everybody. If you want to hang out with some funny people and tell only the healthiest kind of jokes, with all the best, smartest, and healthiest people.
Have we got a place for you?
That's right. It's called the Discord. It's a great place where we all hang out and talk, and people send in ideas for episodes. People chat about everything they're doing in their lives. It's a great place to hang out. And if you want access to it, all you got to do is head to patreon.com/wehaveconcerns.
That's right. There's other cool stuff that you can get for supporting the show, making sure this show continues. If you like it, maybe help make it continue.
Yeah.
And you get cool stuff. You get extra bonus episodes and videos and cool stuff. Patreon.com/wehaveconcerns.